I'm just gonna doze off here for a sec. Do you know what that means? Doze off. Doze off means to fall asleep. And sec is short for second. Well, actually, it doesn't really mean second. If I say I'm gonna doze off for a sec, it's going to be more than a second, right? It's going to be for a few minutes or maybe even half an hour. Right? We usually use the phrasal verb doze off. Hey, that's one of the phrasal verbs in my intermediate phrasal verbs book. You might have seen it if you've been using my phrasal verbs book to learn phrasal verbs. But if I say I'm going to doze off for a sec, that means I'm going to fall asleep for a few minutes. And usually we use the phrasal verb doze off when we talk about sleeping in the daytime. We don't really use that at night. You could use it at night, but I think most of the time we use it to mean we're going to take a short nap. And it sort of has the idea that you're going to lie down and maybe sleep, but you're not really planning on sleeping. You're just going to lie down and see what happens, right? You're not really planning to sleep, but if it happens, you're okay with it, right? I'm just going to lie down and just see what happens, right? Just stretch out a bit. just gonna doze off here for maybe a few minutes, right? Like it sort of means take a nap, right? It's another way to say you're gonna take a nap. And maybe you don't even want to take a nap, but maybe sleep just comes to you when you don't even want it to come, right? Then you can also use the phrasal verb doze off, right? You could say, "Oh, I dozed off during the movie. What happened? I didn't see the end of the movie. I dozed off." That means you wanted to watch the movie, but you got tired and you fell asleep. So, you missed the end of the movie and you weren't planning to, but it just happened because, sometimes we get a bit tired, right? Now, my last video was on the phrasal verb nod off. Nod off. Do you know what that means? Well, I'll tell you what that means, okay? To nod off means that you fall asleep a little bit in an upright position. Okay, so you're not lying down when you nod off. So this is what it means to nod off. You're nodding off. When you're sitting up, maybe you're sitting on a bus somewhere and you get a bit sleepy and you start to nod off. Nod off. That means your head moves to one side and you fall asleep a little bit, okay? So it means like when you fall asleep without something to support your head, right? Your head just sort of falls over like that, and you can't, it's probably not comfortable because there's nothing to support your head, right? And then maybe suddenly you'll jolt awake. Jolt. Jolt means a sudden movement. Okay, so if you start nodding off, you might jolt awake. Maybe suddenly the bus slams on the brakes, right? If someone slams on the brakes, then the bus stops really suddenly, and then you jolt awake. What was that? Are we okay? Oh, I must have fallen asleep. I didn't mean to fall asleep. I'm so tired. I was just nodding off. Okay, so that's what nodding off means. So there's a little difference between nod off and doze off. You could say doze off as well if you're sitting on the bus. I just dozed off for a bit. I dozed off. But the difference is that nod off is always in an upright position, right? Whereas doze off could be in a lying position or in an upright position, right? You could use doze off for that too. Now, if you're sitting in a car, right, and let's say you're sitting in the back seat of a car, right, and you're feeling sleepy, so you fall asleep with your head against the window, then you could say, I'm just gonna doze off for a few minutes here. I'm just gonna doze off. There you wouldn't really say nod off because your head has something to rest against, right? It has like a support. So in that case, I think it would be better to say doze off. Or you could say, I'm going to take a quick nap. So you can see there are just some small differences between these different terms in English. They all basically mean the same thing, but there are some small differences like nod off, doze off. What are some other ones here? I wrote down some ones that I wanted to teach you. Drift off. You could say drift off. Now, I think drift off is almost the same as doze off. I think they're basically the same. You know, if you lie down on your couch, you could say, I'm going to drift off for a few minutes. I'm just going to drift off. Right? Drift off. I think that means exactly the same as doze off. Or you could say snooze. I'm going to take a quick snooze. Or I think you could use it as a phrasal verb. I'm going to snooze off. I think you could say I'm going to snooze off for a few minutes, right? They all basically mean the same thing. Or another one is catnap. Have you ever heard that before? A catnap. A catnap is just a short nap. Actually, when I was a kid, I had some British friends, and they would say kip. I'm going to take a quick kip. I'm just going to go for a kip. A kip means a nap, right? So, I mean, there are different ways to say. There's probably, a lot of different ways that you could describe falling asleep. But if you want to take a nap, maybe next time you should try using one of these other words, right? You could say, I'm going to doze off for a few minutes, or I'm going to lie down on the couch and drift off for a sec. Remember, sec doesn't actually mean second. It means a while, just a little while. I'm gonna drift off for a sec. I'm gonna take a snooze. I'm gonna take a cat nap. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to take a kip. Or if you just want to be boring, you could say, I'm going to fall asleep for a little bit. Right? I'm just going to fall asleep. You can use that too. Sometimes it's okay to use the most basic word, just the easiest word. You can do that too. But it's good to try new things in English, right? That's how you improve your English vocabulary. If you take some risks, try some new things, use some new phrasal verbs. So the phrasal verb nod off is in my advanced phrasal verb book, and the phrasal verb doze off is in my intermediate phrasal verb book. So if you want to learn new phrasal verbs like this, I think both my books will really help you take your English to another level, a whole new level. I hope so anyway. Thank you to everyone who has bought my books. I really appreciate it. And right now I'm starting to work on some idioms books. Idioms are fun too. So I'll let you guys know when those books are ready. But anyway, I just wanted to teach you some other ways to say sleep. Hope you're having a great day or a great night. Maybe you're watching this at night. And I'll see you guys over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Have a good snooze.